Welcome back to the deep dive. So we've gone through that stack of material you sent over, the pieces focusing on financial compliance in Nigeria, specifically for FIs, financial institutions, and OFIs.
Right.
And it seems the core insight is this. Everyone knows meeting global AML, CFT standards is, well, mandatory. That's baseline.
Of course.
But what these sources really zeroed in on is the unique pressure coming from navigating strict domestic laws at the same time, particularly the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission Act, the ICPC Act.
Exactly. That's where it gets complicated.
So our mission today is really to understand why. Why does this specific focus on public sector corruption make complying with the ICPC Act such a uniquely urgent operational headache, maybe more so than other financial crime rules?
Well, it starts with the ICPC's mandate itself. It's fascinating, actually.
So,
It's not just general money laundering they're after. The ICTC is laser-focused on illicit enrichment, misconduct, like job racketeering, fraud. Specifically tied to public office.
Yeah.
And public contracts, public funds. That demands a different kind of monitoring from the FIs. Much more specialized, especially for politically exposed persons, PEPs.
Right, tracking those specific flows.
Exactly. Where the money comes from, where it's going, if it involves public figures.
And this is where we hit that major operational difference, isn't it? The power discrepancy compared to, say, the EFCC.
We do, and it's stark. The real power is tucked away in Section 45 of the ICPC Act.
Section 45. Well,
This provision suggests the ICPC chairman can basically seize movable property, which includes funds in a bank account, just based on information received.
just information.
That's what a literal reading suggests. And here's the kicker. Potentially without getting a court order beforehand.
Wow.
They issue what's called a post-no debit instruction, a PND. It freezes the account instantly.
And that's different from the EFCC.
Very different. The EFCC Act, under its Section 34, generally needs that judicial sign-off, a court order, to freeze accounts like that.
Okay, that unilateral power, it sounds like a nightmare for a compliance officer. So a verified Section 45 directive lands on their desk. We know speed matters. What's the absolute first thing they have to do?
The number one non-negotiable priority is immediate execution. Get that PND instruction placed on the account right now and document everything.
Why the rush? Just procedural.
No, it's their protection.
Law.
That speed is what secures their statutory immunity. The ICPC Act explicitly gives FIs and their staff immunity if they comply promptly.
Immunity from what?
From being sued later by the customer whose account got frozen. Claims for breach of contract, negligence, things like that. Comply fast, get the shield.
But wait a second. If they're just complying based on speed to get immunity, aren't they essentially forced into potentially unlawful actions? I mean, you mentioned courts have questioned freezing without an order, like in that Williams v. ICPC case.
That is precisely the dilemma. It creates this huge legal uncertainty.
So what do?
Well, even though a court might later rule that the freeze was unconstitutional from the start, the FI cannot afford to wait and see. They have to act.
It's a risk calculation then.
Absolutely. The calculus is pretty straightforward, unfortunately. The risk of not cooperating immediately. That means facing potential CBN sanctions, maybe even charges of obstructing an investigation. That downside is usually seen as far, far worse than the risk of being sued by the customer, provided they acted fast enough to get that immunity shield up.
Okay, so they navigate that immediate legal minefield by acting instantly. But then, don't they run straight into another problem? Data privacy. What about the Nigeria Data Protection Act, the NDPA 2023? Sharing customer info with the ICPC must trigger that, right?
It absolutely does. This is where you see this convergence of regulatory risk. It's tricky.
So how do they square that circle? Comply with ICPC and NDPA?
Fortunately, there's a pathway. The ICPC's clear legal mandate to investigate corruption provides the necessary lawful basis under the NDPA. It typically falls under compliance with a legal obligation or task carried out in the public interest. Ah, okay, so the NDPA allows it under those grounds.
Yes, but, and this is crucial, the FAK have to be incredibly careful about what they share. They must strictly apply the principle of data minimization. Meaning only share the absolute minimum data required for that specific ICPC investigation, nothing more. If they overshare, they could face penalties from the Data Protection Commission, the NDPC, even if they correctly follow the ICPC's PND order.
So wrapping this up, strategic compliance here really means integration.
Mandatory integration, yes. You have to weave these specific ICPC requirements seamlessly into your broader AML, CFT, and your NDPA compliance frameworks.
Which sounds complex. Technology must play a role. RegTech.
Increasingly, yes.
Yeah.
RegTech solutions are becoming vital to handle these multiple, simultaneous, complex demands from different agencies efficiently. You need systems that can flag relevant transactions, manage the P&D process quickly, and log data sharing appropriately for NDPA.
So for you listening, you're seeing FIs pushed into this role of being almost instantaneous gatekeepers for the ICPC. Precisely. And that leads to a final, maybe provocative thought for you to mull over.
Go on.
If an FI's main legal defense, that statutory immunity, hinges entirely on obeying a directive extremely quickly, a directive that a court might later find was fundamentally flawed or even unconstitutional, what does that dual pressure truly tell us about the ultimate ethical tightrope these financial institutions have to walk in the fight against systemic corruption? It's a tough spot.